I lived beyond my means and I got everything I wanted. Listen to me. When they say don't live above your means, spend only what you can afford, you know what? They're right. They're right. I'll give them that. But I would like to preface this by saying there is a way to safely live above your means, and it's going to get you everything you've ever wanted. A little bit of background about me. Hi, my name is Samia. I used to be a broke, hopeless 20-something-year-old that didn't know where her life was headed, couldn't afford college. I had a very tumultuous childhood. I literally did not know where my life was headed. Yeah, it was not a good time. However, I am a Libra. I love to be beautiful. I love to have nice things. This is what was in my blood. So obviously I would like to gravitate towards nicer things, which I could not afford. Fast forward to today, I own a 6-figure business. I support my family financially. I'm in a very happy, positive relationship with the best man I've ever met. I can afford to eat whatever I want to eat. I've been to multiple countries. I've traveled around the world. And listen to me. When 21-year-old me hears that I've done all these things at 29, she would unalive herself. She would not believe it. She wouldn't believe it. And I want to tell you, it's because I lived above my means as much as possible, safely, in my early 20s. Today, I'm going to tell you how to do that safely, things that I wouldn't do that I may have done, but you won't, because I'm going to tell you what not to do and why it's actually beneficial for you. This is not me saying that you should spend all of your money on dumb things. So I actually have another video that goes hand in hand with this. It's about manifestation. And the reason I bring this up is because living above your means is a form of manifestation. When I was in my early 20s, even though so many bad things was happening around me and I didn't have the resources to do better, I always knew I wanted better for myself. I wasn't just going to let myself dissipate into the dust and turn into nothing. I'm a Libra. Okay, I'm meant for better things. I'm meant for great things. Always known this. I always knew I wasn't like a regular person. No. Do I look like a regular person? No. And this was really just like a driving force for me. So I remember, even though I couldn't afford to finish school, I had to drop out. I never stopped thriving for what I wanted. So even though I was making like $9 an hour, I would always try to eat a nice meal for my lunch breaks. For context, I used to work at Zara. I was already paying financially for my family, but I never let myself eat junk food, fast food, even though it was affordable. I would always have a nice meal. And I always remember this because all my coworkers would be like, girl, you are eating like good food at every lunch break. Coffee ASMR. It may seem like such a minuscule thing, but eating a nice lunch almost every time I'm at work was a form of living above my means. I mean, yeah, it is living above my means. I shouldn't have been having $16 meals for lunch. But it put me in a mindset that this is something that should be normal for me. I shouldn't have to buy Burger King or Chick-fil-A for my lunch breaks. I should be able to enjoy a nice meal. I'm working all day for little money. I need a nice meal. I deserve a nice meal. Actually, this brings me to something that happened recently. I was having breakfast at a local breakfast joint, and one of the people working there was like, oh, wait, I know you from somewhere. And she remembered me coming in for lunch at California Pizza Kitchen years ago. This was like 6 years ago. She was the manager, and she said she would see me regularly having lunch. And it actually is the reason why I made this video, because I was like, wow, like I have really come such a long way. Like I don't think we ever interacted, but the fact that she remembered my face was very special. On my lunch breaks, I would be surrounded with other individuals that were also on their lunch breaks. However, they were further along in their lives than I was. I would usually sit by the bar because it was quicker than getting a table. And I was always sat next to successful people, and they would be having like steak for lunch, a salad, a nice coffee, maybe a cocktail. And I just remember I was like, I want to be able to afford to have this for lunch on a regular basis without like worrying about, can I afford this? Is my bank account going to be okay if I spend $15 on a steak? It was such a groundbreaking moment for me. And it's so funny because when you think about it, you're like, Girl, it's just a steak and a salad. But it wasn't, okay? It was more than that. It was just like being able to do that on a lunch break, on a Wednesday, on a random Wednesday. Fast forward a year or two, I decided that $9 was not cutting it. It was not cutting it. I was just living scrap by scrap, paycheck by paycheck. I found another job. I was working on another job at the mall. It was called Lovesac. It was those giant beanbag sofa things. It's a little bit of a pay bump, so it let me afford a couple more things than just nice lunches. So at this point, side note, the business I own right now is a vintage designer business. I collected vintage designer since I was maybe 14 or 15. And back then it wasn't what it was today. It was very affordable. People really didn't know much about it. It was kind of looked down upon, buying secondhand. And I love designer. And vintage, like giving something a second life to me was like, wow, I love that. I love recycling. I was collecting vintage designer from a very young age. And it kind of put me in the mindset of like, ooh, I'm able to afford a Burberry bag that cost me like $70 just because it was secondhand. So I became very, very savvy when it came to affording luxury goods. So at this point with my pay bump, I was buying myself a couple more things every now and then, you know, buying a nice bag, buying some shoes, building my closet a little bit, but not in a way that was making me broke. What you do not want to do is if you have $200 in the bank, buying $180 shoes. Do not do that. Don't do that. Now that's living way above your means, and that's something I don't recommend. Don't do that. What I would say is a safe number. If you have $300 in the bank account, $80 max. $80 max is a safe number to spend on yourself. And when I say spend on yourself, I don't mean buying something stupid. I mean something that will raise your standards and make you want to do better. All these things in my early 20s really pushed me to want more in life. But even though I had to quit school at this point, I was climbing the ladder. So after a few months of working at Lovesac, I found another job. And this time it was at a luxury boutique. I would like to say this was a very pivotal moment in my life. I was probably 23, and this is when I was getting more and more aware of fashion and beauty, and I was being exposed to women that were shopping $600-$700 items on a random Tuesday. We had a client book, and these addresses, when we looked these addresses up, $1 million condos. $1 million condos. I remember this one client that we had. She and I were besties. Okay, we were besties. She would come in with her Labradoodle almost every Tuesday and spend a couple hundred, and she lived right down the street at the St. Regis in a $3 million condo. And at 23 years old, I was just so amazed. I was so amazed. I was like, wow. You know, like I want to be in her shoes. I don't want to be the one selling her shoes. I want to be in her shoes. At this point, I had a bigger pay bump than what I had before. I think I was making $16 an hour, which is a lot for a 23-year-old, plus commission. And I also got a clothing allowance. Clothing was not cheap. It was like on the hundreds plus. So being able to have a clothing allowance, which was like $300 or $400 every quarter, I was like, wow, I'm having $200 shirts in my closet. The quality is so much nicer than what I'm used to. Like, I want this. So with this pay bump, I was exposed to more and more nicer brands, the lifestyle of some of these ladies. I was having lunch at nicer places, being around nicer people that were way ahead in their careers and their lives. And I was just becoming so exposed and immersed in the lives of these people that I want to be in. Financial stability has always been so important to me. So even though I was living a little bit above my means, I was never at a point where I was jeopardizing the bills. No. And that goes to another point of mine. You do not ever, and I want to say this as much as I possibly can, you do not want to spend more than what your bills are, plus having a safety net, period. Even though I was spending a little bit more than I should have, I always made sure my bills are paid. I have never missed a payment ever in my life. I paid everything on time, maybe earlier. And then if I had something left over, I would treat myself. I would always treat myself. You make sure your bills are paid. And then you can buy yourself a nice shoe. anyway, back to my point. I am telling you, when you start putting yourself in situations and places where there are people doing much better than you, there is no choice except to go up, to go where they are. There is no choice, period. At one point that summer that I was working there, I was like, I need a new car. These ladies that I'm seeing, they have nice cars. And we're actually moving into one of my do's and don'ts, my lessons of the day, big sister advice. I talked about this in my manifestation video, but I'm going to kind of get more into depth about this. The car situation. I had a Kia Soul as my first car. My very special, beautiful, sweet man helped me get that car. I had no credit at the time. He helped me build it, and he co-signed for the car. At one point, I felt like it was a wall. I felt like I was the hamster in the commercials. I felt like I was that. And when I first got the car, that was fine because I was just like a 21-year-old girl that never had a car before, and I was so excited. But at 24 at this point, I was like, this is not, I feel like the hamster. I don't feel like the boss woman that I want to be and know I can be. And it was a hindrance at this point. I went ahead and signed and got myself a Mercedes. It wasn't a lot more than what I was originally paying, but it was a good chunk. I would say it was like almost $200 more than what I was originally paying for the Kia Soul. This is what I would not do. Even though a few months later, I did get another job to kind of match that and make more income, I got the car before I got the new job. So I got the car, and then I was like, uh-oh, the bills are piling up. I had to start sacrificing some of my lunches to afford the car. This is a don't. This is a no. This is what I would not recommend. Do not do this. Do not do that. Don't do that. I don't know what I was doing trying to get a car that I could barely afford. But what I would do if I could do it all over again, and the advice I'm going to give to you guys as your big sister, you get the job first, and then you get the car. You get the car after. I won't like totally shit on it because it's the reason why it pushed me to get another job, but it put me in a position where I was like, this is getting a little too close for me not being able to pay my bills. I had to start sacrificing some of my lunches, and that's something that you shouldn't have to do when you're living above your means. My way. When I say living above your means in this video, I mean my way of living above your means. Don't listen to what these folks are telling you. That's not what I mean. I don't mean like going broke. I mean my way. When you're climbing this ladder, each step that you climb, you need to make sure the steps you've climbed before are not affected by the next step that you're taking. If you take another step and you have to like sacrifice one or two steps that you took all the way up to that point, it's all for nothing. It's for nothing. No, don't do that. Don't do what I did. I had to do it all over again. You get the job first, you get the car. That way you can keep your nice lunches and you can keep the car. A few months later, I decided to go to an interview at a luxury retailer. This really was a pay bump. This was a huge pay bump for me. I was making well over $20 plus commission. Whew, girl, I was able to afford my first trip to Europe. I went to Italy. And this was such a huge thing in my life. I also took my mom. It's like a combination of manifestation and living above your means. I think living above your means is a part of manifestation. And everybody's going to look different, okay? For me, it was the nicer lunches. For you, it might be getting a coffee now and then. Filling up your tank full instead of a little bit at a time, which is what I was doing, but don't tell anybody, etc. Don't feel like you have to compare yourself to someone else, especially what I'm saying. My life is not your life is not mine. I came back from this trip and I was just like, my life has changed. My life has changed forever. At this point, I was heavily collecting vintage designer. I just had such, like, the things that you see now that a lot of celebrities have, I had it. I had a knack for it, okay? I was able to find the rarest vintage Chanel sunglasses, bags, shoes, whatever you can name, I found it. And it was in my closet. So I had a hefty vintage closet at this point. Hefty. Fast forward a little bit, I had another job here and there, but COVID rolled around, okay? I lost my job. And I was on unemployment and I was getting the stimulus like a lot of people were getting. This was the point in my life where you need to sacrifice living above your means. Okay, This is the point. This is what you have worked so hard for. There was a moment where I could either just continue living off the stimulus and this unemployment, which is a lot. It was a lot of money. However, I'm a Libra. I'm a woman. I'm very intelligent. I knew this wasn't going to be forever. I had a choice. I could either just let the money pile up, buy myself some fun toys, or I could start my business that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to do. At that moment, there was such a clear, it was like a moment of clarity. And I was like, this is the moment. This is the moment. I had an extra 500 that I could spend on fun. And that's what I put to start my business. I put $500 in to start my vintage designer business. It's called Saucy Vault. You may actually know about it. You may follow me. You may be a saucy girl. Hi, saucy girl. It's the love of my life. It's changed my life forever. It's allowed me to live the life I've always wanted. Like the life that I was living up until this point was a caricature of the life I'm living now. It was me cosplaying as this person that I am today. Okay. You can look very close to a character when you're cosplaying, but you'll never be that character. That's who I was. That's what I was doing. I was faking it till I made it. And now I can confidently say I'm very happy. I've got everything I've wanted in my life, thanks to God, thanks to my determination, thanks to living a little bit above my means. It's given me a purpose. It's given me clarity on what I wanted in life. I need to make this cosplay that I'm doing a reality. I need to make it real. And I did. And I know I'm going to continue to get whatever I want in my life. Even now, I feel like this year I took the biggest trip of my entire existence, my entire life. I took a whole month vacation to Europe in the summer. I took my mom. I paid for every single thing. Everything. Okay, I will admit, it took quite a big chunk out of my savings. Quite a bit. I would not recommend that. Even though it was the trip of my lifetime and it was so special to me and my mom and the memories, if I could do it all over again, I would have spent half of what I spent. Because money will always come back. Money is always going to come back. Always. But you got to do it responsibly. If I could do it all over again, I would have spent half. Still would have been fine. We were just living a little bit more lavishly, having a little lobster and pasta here and there. Great memories. I'm very grateful to be able to have done that. But it really pushed me into the life I knew that I deserved, that I was made for, that I was created for. I was made to live this life, and everything just started falling into place. And here I am. The lesson here, live safely above your means. You don't know what you want in life until you experience it, until you have like a taste of it. How are you going to know you like steak if you've never tried it before? And then you try it once and you're like, I want to have steak forever. I want to have steak every day. Live safely above your means. Make sure your bills are paid. Try something here and then. You deserve to spoil yourself here and then. It's not going to break your bank, I promise. Watch how your life changes. Watch how your life changes. The universe is going to provide it for you. Anyway, I do have an in-depth video on the manifestation if you want to watch that. If there's anything else you guys would like to see too, let me know. I hope this video has helped some of my ladies out there. I know the early 20s is such an interesting place to be at. You just kind of don't know what's going on in your life, and that's totally okay. I didn't know shit about life until I turned maybe 27. And I was like, I want this. And I'm not going to stop until I get this. Believe in yourself, believe in God, let it all happen. Anyway, I loved having this yap session with y'all. I hope you have a wonderful holiday, and hopefully the next video comes soon. Bye.